مرحبا جميعا. يعطيكم ألف عافية. رح ننتظر دقيقتين قبل ما نبلش لينضم لنا الزملاء. معنا هلأ تقريبا أكثر من 70 شخص بهاي الجلسة. رح ننتظر دقيقتين. بهالوقت بنحب أنكم تكتبوا لنا على الشات من وين عم تحكونا، من أي بلد، وإذا أنتم من مؤسسة فاكت تشيكينج أو مؤسسات إعلامية كمان بنحب أنه نعرف من أي مؤسسات. معنا من سلطنة عمان، من مصر، من اليمن. أهلا وسهلا فيكم. من الأردن، من فلسطين، من المغرب، من الجزائر، من لبنان، من تونس. أهلا وسهلا فيكم جميعا. يعني بنعرف أنه نحن هلأ بعد الإفطار ورمضان، فكتير مبسوطين تكونوا معنا. معنا من تايوان فاكت تشيك سنتر كمان، أهلا وسهلا. اليوم الحضور متنوع، يعني مش بس من الدول العربية، معنا حضور أجنبي كمان من بلدان مختلفة. معنا من اليمن، من المغرب، أهلا وسهلا. أهلا فيكم جميعا. من سريلانكا، من العراق. بتمنى منكم إذا بدكم تسمعوا باللغة العربية تختاروا أيقونة اللغة العربية بالأسفل عند إشارة الكرة الأرضية، وإذا بدكم تسمعوا باللغة الإنجليزية تختاروا أيقونة اللغة الإنجليزية. ننتظر بعد دقيقة واحدة ونبلش. بطلب هالوقت من المتحدثين الكرام يفتحوا الكاميرا لنقدر كلنا نشوفهم. أهلا وسهلا. يعني عم نشوف كلنا بالشات إنه قد إيه في تنوع بالحضور. صار معنا تقريبا 100 شخص، فخلينا نبلش بهيدي الجلسة. مرحبا. يوم تدقيق عالمي سعيد. هابي انترناشونال فاكت تشيكينج داي اليوم 2 ابريل. واهلا وسهلا فيكم بهيدي الجلسه خلال شهر رمضان، يعني بعد الافطار كلنا جميعا. منذ اللحظه الاولى لتاسيس AFCN الشبكه العربيه لمدققي المعلومات من اريج نهايه عام 2020، كنا ندرك ان المهمه لن تكون سهله، ليس لاننا لا نملك المعرفه، الخبره، المهاره والامكانيات، بل لاننا نعيش في مجتمع عربي غارق في الفساد والبروباغندا والمعلومات الخاطئه والمضلله، ولأن الناس فيه فقدت الثقة بوسائل الإعلام ونخبتها التي باتت جزء لا يتجزأ من صناعة الكذب والتضليل، ولأننا كنا ندرك أننا سنواجه تحديات كثيرة وأننا لا نملك خيارا آخرا إلا مواجهتها مهما كانت النتيجة. منذ تلك اللحظة وضعنا أمامنا 4 أهداف أساسية لدعم مؤسسات ومبادرات تدقيق المعلومات العربية ومدققي مدققات المعلومات المستقلين في مجتمعنا: تطوير المهارات، الحماية، التشبيك والابتكار. في تطوير المهارات نجحنا في بناء مؤسسات ناجحة. مش عارفة إذا أنتم سامعيني بشكل مضبوط. أوكي. نجحنا في بناء مؤسسات ناجحة رغم كل التحديات، بالإضافة إلى مدققية ومدققات معلومات محترفين. في الحماية نحاول جاهدا وقدر المستطاع أن نبعد الخطر الجسدي، النفسي، الرقمي، القانوني والمهني عن مؤسسات ومدققي مدققات المعلومات المهددين بسبب عملهم. في التشبيك بنينا مجتمعا متماسكا من 40 مؤسسة ومبادرة تدقيق معلومات وأكثر من 250 مدقق معلومات يتبادلون الخبرات والتعاون والدعم ويناقشون التحديات ويخططون للمضي قدما. وفي الابتكار أدخلنا الذكاء الاصطناعي إلى عملنا وصممنا تشات بوت وماركت بليس الشبكة العربية لمدققي المعلومات. قمنا بتعريب أداة انفيد، واليوم نعلن من هذا الويبينار وبمناسبة اليوم العالمي لتدقيق المعلومات، أن أدوات فول فاكت AI لتدقيق المعلومات أصبحت متوفرة باللغة العربية ومجانا ل 22 مؤسسة ومبادرة تدقيق معلومات وقرابة 100 مدقق معلومات في 9 دول عربية. لم تكن مهمة سهلة ولكنها كانت ضرورية. لم تكن لتنجح دون جهود فريق فول فاكت مشكورين فردا فردا، وبدون دعم مبادرة أخبار جوجل GNI التي آمنت بالشبكة العربية لمدققي المعلومات، ومن دون تصميم فريق الشبكة، ومن دون إيمان مجتمعها بأن إدخال التقنيات والذكاء الاصطناعي بشكل مهني وأخلاقي إلى عملهم وباللغة العربية حاجة ماسة لتطويره وتحسينه وتسهيله. فخرونا جدا بهذا التعاون مع فول فاكت ومبادرة أخبار جوجل، ونتطلع لتعاون أكبر مستقبلا يساهم في تطوير مجتمع الشبكة العربية لمدققي المعلومات بشكل أوسع. أهلا وسهلا بكم في ويبينار أدوات فول فاكت AI تدقيق المعلومات تتحدث العربية. أنا سجا مرتضى مديرة الشبكة، وسعيدة اليوم أن يكون معي في هذه الجلسة التي تمتد لساعة ونصف كريس موريس وهو المدير التنفيذي لفول فاكت، كيت ويلكنسون وهي مديرة إنتاج أولى في فول فاكت، وخالد وليد وهو مستشار التحول الرقمي في أليش. لنطلق معا هذه الأدوات باللغة العربية، نعرفكم على ميزاتها ونحكي لكم قصة تصميمها وتطويرها وتنفيذها باللغة العربية، وكيف دخلت إلى عمل 22 مؤسسة عربية. الاستماع باللغة العربية رجاء اختيار العربية في أيقونة اللغة، والاستماع باللغة الإنجليزية رجاء اختيار الإنجليزية في أيقونة اللغة. نرحب بكل أسئلتكم في خانة ال Q&A التي سأنقلها للمتحدثين في الوقت المناسب. نبدأ مع كريس. كريس، أهلا وسهلا فيك، سعيدين جدا بأنك تكون معنا اليوم. كريس، يعني خطوة أن تتعاون مؤسسة وشبكة عربية مع مؤسسة وشبكة بريطانية بإدخال الذكاء الاصطناعي إلى عمل مدققي المعلومات وبلغة معقدة وصعبة مثل اللغة العربية، يعني برأيك شو أهميتها وكيف التعاون سهل أن يكون التنفيذ والتطبيق وأن يكون النجاح بالمستقبل أفضل وأيسر؟
Thank you very much, Saja. And I should also start by saying happy International Fact Checking Day to everyone on the call. I think it's a really good reminder of how important what we do is. But in my opinion, we should remember that every day, not just on the 2nd of April. I've only been the CEO of Full Fact for nearly 6 months. And one of the things I'm most excited about is all of this, the technology work we're doing with AI and automated fact checking, and the collaboration we're building around the world with the AFCN and with others. It's really awesome. And it's why I'm so pleased that our tools are now working in Arabic as well as in English and French. And I see no reason why we can't expand to many more languages in the years to come. But before I say more about that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my career and how I came into fact checking and why I think that this is our time. I was a foreign correspondent with the BBC for many years, working in Europe, in South Asia, in the United States, and in the Middle East. I've spent quite a lot of time in Israel and Palestine and in Lebanon, as well as in Syria and Iraq. And I know how difficult it is to be a journalist in the Middle East and to try to separate fact from fiction. So congratulations to all of you who are working across the region. You're doing amazing things. And when I came back to the UK after 20 years abroad, that was in 2016, I then helped set up BBC Reality Check on TV and radio, as well as online. And we fact-checked everything from Britain's relationship with the European Union to the COVID pandemic to the climate crisis. I left the BBC in 2022 and I joined Full Fact last year. And one of the reasons I decided to stay in the world of fact-checking was pretty simple, really. I don't think it's ever been more necessary to do what we do. And a large part of the reason for that is the pace of technological change and the emergence of generative AI, which means pretty much everyone can create, produce, and disseminate their own version of reality simply with an app on their phone. Stuff which would have taken a huge amount of computer processing power just a few days ago is now just a couple of clicks away and it's in everyone's pocket. So what does that mean for us? Well, Full Fact was set up 15 years ago, and it's grown through the era of social media and messaging apps and the emergence of a million different narratives about almost every important event of our time. But if we think the changes that have been brought about by technology over the last 15 years have been extraordinary, and they have, then just wait for the next 5 years. Technology is moving so fast, as you know, that I think it can be difficult to make any predictions with any confidence. I do, though, think it's safe to say that thanks to the development of generative AI, the information revolution is going to accelerate even more dramatically. And I think that gives us, in a fact-checking world, both an enormous challenge, but also an enormous opportunity. And when Full Fact started 15 years ago, I think it was basically trying to answer the question, why is this man, and it usually was a man, why is this man lying to me? But now, increasingly, people are starting to ask a much bigger question. Can I believe anything I read or see or hear anywhere? And I think one of the roles of fact-checking for all of us, wherever we are in the world, is to give people confidence that there is still such a thing as accurate information that you can trust. You can still have different opinions about it, about what it means. That's what political debate's for. But we have to start from the point that the debate should be based on at least some kind of collection of shared facts. But where do we really begin? I don't need to tell you what the problem is. There's so much information out there and so much mis and disinformation that it's hard to know what we do, where we start. And if you're a small team of fact checkers, it feels like the technology can overwhelm you. But I think about the point about the tools we're unveiling in Arabic today is that the technology can also help you as well as challenge you. We can use the technology to help us find the bad information before it does too much harm. And the tools that we're launching today in Arabic based on AI have been developed since 2019. And in a few minutes, Kate, my colleague, is going to go through how they work in a bit more detail. But we're also working on a new tool now based on generative AI, which we hope will be able to rank health misinformation in online videos by the harm that it causes. So not just to point fact checkers in the direction of information that might need checking, but also to point us in the direction of the most harmful material as quickly as possible. So we're pretty excited about that, and we hope to have a demonstration of our new tools available in time for the Global Fact Conference in Sarajevo in June. But there's another point I want to emphasize, and that is that I don't think fact-checking on its own is enough. We can't just wait for bad information to emerge to do something about it, because by then it can be too late. So with the world of information moving so quickly, we need to work together. And yeah, we all have governments to deal with, right? Some of them are more difficult than others, but we also all know who really runs the information world online. It's the big tech companies, the social networks, and the search engines. And many of them cooperate with fact checkers. The Google News Initiative is helping to fund this partnership, as you know. And I'm sure some of you take part in Meta's third-party fact-checking program. But I still think the tech companies can and should do more. And one of the reasons why it's important to build international collaboration amongst fact checkers like this is that it's more likely that the tech companies will work with us and pay attention to us when we say we operate across a whole host of countries, whether it be in Europe or the Middle East or anywhere else, and we'll work together. If we're a larger group of organizations with data which is really valuable, with a collective database of thousands of fact checks, then the people that run the online world, the big tech companies, whether they be in California or Beijing, they will have to pay attention to us. So that's why we need to work together. And I think these AI tools are a great example of how that can be done on a practical level. And that's why I'm really proud, after a huge amount of work, both by my team at Full Fact and by all of you, that we've got to this point. And I hope, in fact, I'm pretty sure that this is just the beginning. So thank you for inviting me today. Thanks to Arij and to the AFCN, and the very best of luck to all of you for all the important work that you're doing. Saja, back to you.
شكرا جزيلا كريس، يعني على المقدمة الجميلة واللي حكت عن نقطة كثير مهمة، بأنه فعليا المعلومات الخاطئة والمضللة أهم شيء هو الأثر اللي بتعمله، الأثر السلبي، قد هي ممكن تأذي أو تسبب أذى حقيقي على حياة الناس، على قرارات الناس، على حقوق الناس. وهذا النقاش الدائر حاليا هلا بأنه قد ايه الفاكت تشيكينج ممكن يساعد بتقليص هذا الأذى أكبر قدر. كريس، قبل ما أروح لعند كيت، بدي أسألك سؤال لأنه عارفة إنه حيجي على الطريق، فبدي أستبقه، يعني حيجي بالشات ومن الآخرين. لماذا هذه الأدوات ليست مفتوحة للجميع وأوبن سورس وممكن لأي شخص الدخول إليها واستخدامها بشكل مجاني في أي وقت؟ يعني أظن هذا سؤال يعني سيتم طرحه هلأ، يعني فنجيب عليه من البداية.
It's partly we've thought a lot about this, and we want to make as much of what we do open source as possible. And we also try very hard to find partners who can license the technology. But it is incredibly expensive to develop them, and we can't work for free, and we can't pay people to work for free. So if we want to keep developing the technology, we do need to create some income from them. And that's why we're trying to license them so we can raise some money to develop better tools in the future. We're of course aware that often fact-checking organizations in some countries really have very, very little money. And so one of the things we're trying to do in parallel with developing the technology is making sure we have partners. At the moment, it's the Google News Initiative. We're looking for others who can help fund those licenses to make sure that everyone has access to them. Perhaps in the future, we will create some tools which are genuinely open source. But at the moment, we feel in this stage of development, it's so important for us to keep working that we need to create that income so we can pay the people who do all the brilliant work on our team.
شكرا جزيلا كريس. بدي أروح هلأ لعند كيت. كيت، يعني ما هي أدوات فول فاكت اي اي لتدقيق المعلومات وكيف تعمل حاليا باللغة العربية؟ يعني إذا فيك هيك شوي تاخدينا بهاي الأدوات، تحكي لنا شوي عن ميزات هذه الأدوات، شو اللي بتقدمه، كيف بتسهل عملية تدقيق المعلومات.
Thank you, Saja, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I am talking to you from Johannesburg, South Africa, where I live. I was previously Deputy Chief Editor at Africa Check for almost 10 years, and I am thrilled to be here with you this evening with the AFCN, with the REACH, with my colleague Chris, to chat to you about the tools which we have brought and worked in conjunction with the AFCN and a REACH to bring to Arab fact checkers to increase the speed, the scale, and the impact of their work. Before I go on to a demo of the tools, because I think it's so important that you can see them, because in the numerous training sessions that we've done so far over the previous month, there have been a number of gasps when I first shared my screen because it's in Arabic. And I think many people, even though they're told that it's going to be in Arabic, don't quite believe that it is in Arabic. But first, I just wanted to share with you a few thoughts. First of all, I think that as a community of fact checkers, people who are committed to accuracy, to holding public figures accountable for what they say, I think that you all, including the AFCN and REACH, should be very proud of what is being celebrated tonight. Because I would say that for Arabic fact checkers in the region where you operate, you are most likely the fact checkers who are most using AI tools when it comes to fact checking. You are our biggest users at Full Fact AI, and we were just speaking today at work that we can't think of another group or region which has access to tools at the scale that you do now. And we're very excited to see how that is going to transform the work that you've been doing. And how it's going to transform the work is because it's going to allow you to monitor at a scale, fact check at a scale, work at a scale that isn't humanly possible. As Chris has said, we face a number of huge challenges when it comes to bad information being spread. And one of those challenges is that there is so much of it. There are 24-hour news cycles. Anyone can publish anywhere at any time. They can use AI to generate false information. You can tweet, you can post on Facebook, and it's not possible to hire enough fact checkers. In fact, there aren't enough fact checkers in the world to monitor all this bad information. So we really need to rely on technology to complement and support the work we do, not to replace us, because all of us, all of the fact checkers on this call, the journalists, the work that you do is important because you understand nuance and you understand complexity and context. But there's a lot of work that is very time and labor intensive that full fact AI can take off your hands so that you have more time to focus on the important, highly skilled and impactful work that you do. So I'm going to share my screen with you and just walk you through the tools so you can see what the fact checkers are seeing when they are using the tool on a daily basis. Here we go. So Full Fact AI is a website which hosts a suite of fact-checking tools. Full Fact has been investing in fact-checking technology, in automated fact-checking, and in AI fact-checking tools for over a decade now. And that's because we believe in not only the transformative power of tech when it comes to the work that we do, but really its importance. And as we move into the future and as we're dragged kicking and screaming, whether we like it or not, we are going to have to confront a number of new and developing challenges when it comes to how false information is being spread. And the suite of tools which I'm going to be taking you through now really is meant to support you and help you deal with increasingly complex and fast-paced media landscape. All of the users, and there are over 20 of them, organizations who are on the tool, have their own platform. Every platform is unique for the user. What you're seeing here is the platform that was made for the AFCN, but every single organization has their own unique platform, which they are able to customize, to change the media they're monitoring, and to really track and search for what they are interested in. The tools are designed to work and fit into your workflow. It doesn't dictate how you use them, when you use them, how you have to fact check, or what you have to focus on. They are designed to suit you and to support the work that you are doing. I'm going to take you through the different features of these tools, which are at the top of this navigation bar. And when you log into this tool, you're going to land on the home page. And this is what we sometimes refer to as checkworthy. We know that on a daily basis, there are hundreds of thousands of claims that are made in different countries on different media platforms. And fact checkers have the very hard task of having to monitor that public debate. They have to monitor online news, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, radio, television. And they also then, once they've done monitoring all of those platforms, have to identify the most important or fact-check worthy statements to verify. So on this landing screen, when you as a Full Fact AI user log in the morning to see what important things need to be fact-checked, you are presented with a list of different claims, which the tool, along with keywords which you have provided, has selected for you to review. And you can see a number of different topics which can be specified by the user. And in each of these topics, there are also keywords which are selected. Importantly, for each of these, built into our system is the ability to provide feedback, because it's important for us to be able to improve and iterate on our tool, and getting user feedback is a very vital part of that. In each of these, though, you can click through and find a whole list of claims, because we only show the most highly ranked claim on the front page. So for each of these topics, you can have up to 20 claims to review and to consider to see if they are fact-check worthy and if it's something you would be interested in interrogating. And this is important because before we rolled out the tools to the Arabic fact-checking organizations, we conducted a survey to understand the challenges that they were facing in the work that they were doing. And when we surveyed respondents, we found that 86% of those respondents said that they found it complicated or that they found it neutral when it came to finding claims to fact check. And through this tool, our hope and our intention is that we're going to see a lot more fact checkers reporting that it's easy and that they are able to find important claims to fact check with a lot less effort. Now I'm going to move over to the second tool, and this is our search tool. And the search tool is bringing together a number of different things. First of all, it is the media that is being monitored. As we have rolled out our tools to the Arabic fact checkers, many of whom are joining us today on this call, we are rolling it out in stages so that we are able to bring new features and capabilities as we are developing them. So currently, when it comes to monitoring media, we're supporting RSS feeds. So that is online news, in some cases, government publications, press statements, speeches, maybe some international organizations will have RSS feeds. And we're able to use those to bring in claims and then have the tool analyze it. When we built this model, we had fact checkers from around the world, and this was back in 2019, 2020, being shown a number of claims, thousands of claims, and having to annotate whether they were a claim or not. And then if they were a claim, what sort of claim they were. And in this way, when I scroll down, you're able to see that articles are being identified along with their publication and their date, and it is identifying claims, potential claims that you can fact check. And each of these can be clicked to open that claim in its original source so that you can interrogate it in its context. And you can see here on the AFCN's account that just over 26,000 claims have been identified in the last 24 hours. Like I said, we're currently monitoring RSS feeds, but we are rolling out a whole host of different monitoring options in the coming days, weeks, and months. So currently we are expanding to social media monitoring. So this allows users to monitor Facebook groups and pages. And we're also going to be expanding to monitoring Twitter through Twitter lists. After that, we're going to look to expand to audio and video. So fact-checking organizations will be able to have automated monitoring of radio shows on a daily basis. So you won't need to do anything to know what was said or claimed in a morning radio show or on an important political debate on radio. The tool will listen to the show, it will transcribe it for you, and then it will show you the claims which could be fact-checked for you to review, cutting the amount of time that you have to spend on manual monitoring to a fraction. Once you have all of these claims in here, from online news, from social media, from radio, from YouTube, we then also offer a number of ways to interrogate them, to filter them, to find the most important things that you need to fact check. The most simple option is to do a keyword search. So you can put in a keyword that you're interested in looking for, and it's going to find claims which contain that keyword. You also have the option to search over different time periods. And then we get to different filters, which really offer a significant amount of utility when it comes to fact checking. So as I said, there are a number of different ways that we annotated these fact checks and that we label them. First of all, you can search by the publication type to look for claims in specific publications. But then importantly, and this is a feature that is used by many of our users around the world with great success, you can look for different types of claims. And this was achieved by training a model based on fact checkers manually labeling claims to create a training set. Here you can see that if we look for claims about quantities or amounts, the number of claims that are available for review has reduced from just over 26,000 to now just under 7,000. And suddenly now in these claims, you're going to be seeing numbers, statistics, things which can be quantified, like unemployment or inflation, so that you as a fact checker are able to quickly see how people are quantifying the problems, the challenges in your society, and if they have evidence to support them. We also offer the ability, and this will come into play as we expand the features, to search by different categories of media. So you're able to just search on social media or just search on broadcast media, so that you're able to narrow your searching down into a specific area that you are interested in. And then one of the very powerful features that we offer, and one which you'll see on the left is still in development, and we're working with the AFCN and with the fact-checking organization users to evaluate and improve this, is that the tool is able to identify entities, people, organizations, political groups that have made claims and assign them to those people. And that allows users to track statements by specific users that they are either interested in monitoring or having a large impact on public debate. This is the search tool. We've looked at the home and checkworthy, and now we're going to move on to the alerts tool. The tools that we have built have looked to achieve a number of things. The first is that in the first tool, we want to help you identify the most important thing to fact check on a daily basis. Then in the second tool, we want to make the process of looking for things to fact check and fact checking as quick as possible. And the third objective is to help you find repeats of things that you have already fact checked, so that you can reapply your work and correct falsehoods when they are repeated with minimal effort. In the alerts tool, users are able to add claims that they have fact checked, statements, things which have been said by politicians or on social media. And then every single day, the tool looks to find matches of that. And it uses a number of different things to do that. It uses entity similarity, search similarity, semantic similarity. And it is then able to provide you with a list of possible matches. And what this means is that if you have fact-checked a claim, say by the president of your country, and you found it to be false, and 2 or 3 weeks later, it's repeated again by a minister, you will be alerted to that so that you can decide what action you want to take. Maybe you want to do a new fact check. Maybe you want to put out a tweet. Maybe you're going to write a blog post, or maybe you'll write to government or to a newspaper to inform them of this inaccuracy. But what it means is that with our alerts tool on Full Fact AI, you are able to increase the return on your initial investment, because fact checks take a lot of time. They take human resources, expertise, editing. And we want to ensure that when you publish a fact check, that is not the end of that fact check's life. It is, in fact, the beginning of a new process of tracking that falsehood, of being alerted every time it is repeated, so that you can continue to debunk it and to ensure that accurate information is shared in your community about important topics. And then lastly, I want to share with you the last feature or tool. And that is a tool which will in the future be expanded to a number of different monitoring techniques. But at the moment, we are able to do what is called a block analysis or a text analysis. And what that means is that you can take any block of text that you have and you can put it into the tool to have it analyzed for claims. In the future, and with our other users around the world, there are new monitoring techniques which we will be expanding to, and those include YouTube videos, it can include radio, and this provides an instant transcript of what is being said, as well as annotations of where there are claims and where there are repeats. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So to add a block transcript, I'm going to get the text that I am interested in. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to grab the block of text, which may be a transcript or a report, and I'm going to click for it to be processed. And you'll see here that it has been added. In the future, when we offer support for YouTube and radio, this will be a live transcript of the tool. But for now, it's just uploaded the full text, and it's going to start annotating it. It's going to start looking for claims and annotating them, and you can see them appearing here. So what you're seeing here is you are seeing the claim which has been made, and then you're also seeing the claims types that have been identified. So here you can see that there is a claim about a quantity, but there's also a claim about a relationship. If you scroll down, you can see other instances. You can see here a claim about an amount. And this becomes incredibly useful when you have a large amount of text, maybe a report or a paper from government, because you then have the ability to look by claims. You can say, take everything out that is in the claim, just show me the claims. Or you can say, I only want to see the claims which are quantities. And then you also have the ability to highlight claims and share them so that your colleagues are able to review the transcript. So that was a very brief overview. We've spent a number of days over the past month going through in great detail the tools, how they work, and the full functionality with the fact checkers who are using them at the moment. And I'm very open to answering questions. I look forward to engaging with you, and I hope in the future to welcome many of you as new users to Full Fact AI.
شكرا كثير كيت، يعني شكرا على العرض للأدوات. ومثل ما قالت كيت، يعني قريبا بالأشهر المقبلة سيكون هناك يعني فيتشرز، ميزات إضافية يعني تتوفر في هذه الأدوات. وعم تجينا أسئلة خاصة ب يعني نفس السؤال اللي طرحته أنا على كريس، إنه لماذا هذه الأدوات غير مفتوحة للمؤسسات اللي عندها اهتمام بالموضوع، وممكن نحن نكون مستقبلا عم ندعم هذا البروسيس. زملائي هلا حيحطوا ايميل AFCN بالشات، وممكن طبعا تتواصلوا مع AFCN بالموضوع اذا كان عندكم اهتمام بان يكون عندكم وصول للادوات مستقبلا. كيت، رح ارجع لك بعد شوي بموضوع كيف قدرنا نوصل هاي الادوات لمؤسسات تدقيق المعلومات، بس بدي اروح عند خالد. خالد مستشار التحول الرقمي في أريج، ومن أحد الأشخاص اللي يعني دعموا هذا المشروع وعملوا فيه من البداية. خالد، من كم سنة لما أريج قررت تبلش يعني استراتيجية أريج أنه تركز على موضوع الابتكار؟ لما بلشنا كان عدد الأدوات المتوفرة باللغة العربية للصحفيين ومدققين معلومات شبه يعني تقريبا صفر، زي ما بدنا نقول أنه تقريبا صفر مش صفر. هلا صار عندنا ادوات عديده باللغه العربيه بسبب جهود اريج وAFCN. لماذا دخلنا هذا العالم، وقد ايه هذا العالم عن جد ممكن يغير من عمل الصحفيين والمؤسسات الاعلاميه ومدققي المعلومات، اذا مش هلا بالوقت الراهن بالمستقبل؟
ثانك يو سجا، وشكرا لفريق فول فاكت كريس وكيت على الجهد اللي بذلوه معنا خلال الرحلة هاي بأنه نعمل الأداء باللغة العربية. هلا أريج تعرفوا تأسست من 19 سنة بال 2005، وعملها كان كشبكة للصحافة الاستقصائية في الوطن العربي، وهي كانت الأولى ولا زالت الأولى من نوعها في هذا الطرح والميثودولوجي الموجودة كمنهجية. الفاكت تشيكينج في عمل أريج من تأسست، يعني ما في تحقيقات بتطلع بدون ما يكون عندنا جزئية كبيرة للفاكت تشيكرز. ومن هون اجت الفكرة ب 2020 وتأسست الشبكة العربية لمدققي المعلومات. طبعا التكنولوجي دخلت على أريج بشكل فرضت نفسها فيه من كورونا، وكانت تجربتنا فيها انه either we are انه احنا موجودين او مش موجودين بعد كورونا حتى نستمر برسالتنا بأريج. وكان جهد روان وفي بداياتها إنه كيف بدنا نستمر باستكمال مهامنا والقيام فيها حتى بوجود كورونا. أنتم بتعرفوا إحنا مش موجودين بمكان بدولة واحدة، إحنا موجودين بأكثر من 16 دولة عربية. مجتمعنا بغطي مجتمعنا من الصحفيين الاستقصائيين موجودين في كل مكان. فمن هون بدأت رحلتنا بإضافة التقنية دائما في كافة أعمالنا. بدأنا بالبيت الداخلي لأريج، وحاولنا إنه أدابت أو إنه نضم هاي التقنية من ضمن عملنا. وبعديها جاءت طبعا ثورة الذكاء الاصطناعي، وإحنا بأريج دائما فيها نوع من الاهتمام بإضافة هاي التقنيات دائما لخدمة العمل الصحفي، لأنه بطل هو خيار. يعني استخدام التقنية في مشتقاتها مش خيار لأنك في أريج أو بالعمل الصحفي بشكل عام، خاصة مع انتشار منصات التواصل الاجتماعي، تغير الاستهلاك المعلومات بالنسبة للقراء وبالنسبة للتعامل معها من وجود الموبايل وغيره. فقبل سنتين بدأت فكرة إنه أريج صارت موضوع الذكاء الاصطناعي في مجتمع الصحفيين هي عبارة عن ضرورة. وبالتالي أريج هنا دخلت في هذا التجربة وبدأت بنفسها، وقمنا خلال رحلة طويلة من حوالي 9 شهور بمحاولة تأطير عمل المؤسسات الصحفية واستهلاكها لتقنيات الذكاء الاصطناعي، وبدأنا بالأساسيات من حيث الفهم العام لها. والحمد لله الآن عندنا استراتيجية للذكاء الاصطناعي بتناسب معظم العاملين في قطاع الصحافة والإعلام في المنطقة العربية. نعم، هو موجود في العالم الاستراتيجيات كثيرة ومنهجيات و آليات عمل، بس ارتئينا انه يكون عندنا شيء مبسط حتى نحاول انه تبرج ذا جاب. ومن هون وعن طريق الشبكة العربية لمدققي المعلومات، خاصة انه احنا دائما ننظر الى عمل مدققي المعلومات لازم يكون متطور ولازم يكون مواكب للتقنية بحيث يقضي الحاجات الموجودة والمتطلبات الهامة فيها. فاجا هنا تعاوننا مع فول فاكت، مشكورين على الجهد اللي كانوا معنا والتعاون في صقل إحدى محاور الاستراتيجية، وهو التعاون مع التقنية وحاول توطينها باللغة العربية. وهون إجا الأداة اللي أنتم عم بتشوفها أو مجموعة الأدوات اللي أنتم عم بتشوفوها. الرحلة كانت متعبة. سجا وفريق العمل مشكورين جميعا، لأنه اللي أنتم شفتوه هذا كان نتاج من جهد عظيم، خاصة أنه اللغة العربية هي ليس لغة سلسة لما تيجي بجهة التقنية وخاصة للمحتوى، وخاصة لما نحكي على ذكاء اصطناعي. فالموضوع شوي حذر. الأداة الموجودين أمامكم الحمد لله وصلت إلى مرحلة جيدة وستتحسن باستمرار. المحتوى الموجود والدقة الموجودة فيها الآن هي لا زالت تحت التطوير، بس كمبادرة احنا وفرنا عمل فول فاكت خلال 15 سنة الماضية من خبرتهم في تدقيق الحقائق أو تدقيق المعلومات، وادخالهم للتقنيه بال 2019. احنا بنحكي تقريبا من عمر الشبكه، والحين هاي الاداه موجوده لاستخدام الجميع ان شاء الله، بناء على استراتيجيه ريش لتوطين التقنيه في المجتمع العربي.
شكرا جزيلا خالد. هلا خالد، في سؤال كان بدي اسالك اياه بس اوريدي في حدا ساله بالكيو اند اي، فهيدا وقته يعني. بس نعرض هاي الادوات، العالم تفتكر انه الحياه ورديه وما في مشاكل والادوات عم تمشي 100%، وما ممكن تطلع معنا اخطاء، ممكن تطلع معنا، بس بالحقيقه بنواجه مشاكل، بنواجه تحديات، وبيطلع معنا اخطاء، خاصه باللغه العربيه وتعقيد اللغه العربيه وكل هاي القصص. فاذا بدنا نحكي عن امكانيه ان احنا نكون ضامنين النتائج الصادره عن هذه الادوات 100%، وعن المشاكل اللي بتواجهنا ممكن تواجهنا خلال تطوير هاي الادوات او استخدام هاي الادوات، بدي اسمع منك، وبدي ارجع اسمع كمان من كيت وكريس بهذا الموضوع. تفضل.
تمام. هلا احنا هاي الاداه دائما، هلا اي ادوات جديده في التقنيه ولما تيجي باللغه العربيه دائما عندنا كونسبت العامل البشري. العامل البشري هو عامل فعال في تحسين دقه هاي الادوات. بالتالي احنا بنعتمد دائما للمستخدمين يعطونا دائما التغذيه الراجعه، الفيدباك من عندهم. هاي بتساعدنا انه احنا نطور من هاي الاداه، وبتساعدنا انه نكون ادق مع الوقت. فنعتبر كل الادوات اللي راح نشوفها الان ولاحقا هي ادوات ظهرت الان وانطلقت في صورتها المبدئيه، ومجال التطوير هو مستمر لا نهائي. فبالتالي اي شخص راح يشوف نوع من عدم الدقه، او نوع من انه المساعده بتكون، او السبورت اللي بيجيها من هاي الادوات حيكون على الاقل 50 ل 60%، لكن بعد سنه سنتين راح نشوفها بتخدمك بقيمه 80 90%. فالمجتمع هو شريك اصلا في تطوير هاي الادوات. مجتمعنا من مدققي المعلومات رح يكونوا لهم دور فاعل في انه نوصل لمرحله من النضوج في هاي الادوات باللغه العربيه.
Yeah, just to add to that,
شكرا كثير
Sajja,
خالد. Yes.
just to add to that, Sajja, I think it's really important to say these tools are not supposed to replace human beings. The AI is supposed to help humans, and the humans still have to be there in the fact checking to add the things the AI still can't do, which is add context, which is add caveats. And I think the future we foresee is AI plus humans. It's not AI instead of humans. And so that's why all the organizations on this call are still so important, because what the AI can do is help you deal with this vast torrent of information and help you focus on the bits that need checking, but you still need human brains and human ingenuity to actually check the fine detail of what's being said and make the actual decisions on whether it's misleading or not.
100%. يعني شكرا كريس على التوضيح، خاصة انه يعني الآن هذا الديبيت القائم بأنه فكرة أنه هالأدوات رح بكرة تاخذ دورنا كصحفيين ومدققي معلومات، وقد ايه هالمرحلة ممكن نوصل لها أو لا، وقد ايه دورنا. يعني هو أمر جدا صعب، لأنه بالنهاية الاناليسز والريفيو والكونتكست كله هيدا مسؤولية الهيومن جورنالست وفاكت تشيكر، والأدوات رح تكون فقط عم بتسرع العملية وتسهلها، خاصة لما يجي الموضوع على رصد المعلومات وايدنتيفيكيشن للكليمز، تحديد اذا كانت شو نوع هذا الكليم والتايب تبعها، ترانسكريبشن وغيرها من الفيتشرز. كيت بتحب تضيف شيء على اللي قالوه كريس وخالد بهذا الموضوع؟ تمام. طيب كيت بدي اروح لعندك واسالك عن فكره. طيب طورنا الادوات باللغه العربيه وصارت متوفره، النجاح الحقيقي هو باستخدام هذه الأدوات، وبقد ايه هذه الأدوات فعلا مع التقييم رح يبين أنه هي عم بتسهل وتساعد عمل مدققي المعلومات. أول شيء بدك تحكي لنا كيف دربنا المؤسسات على الأدوات، وكيف رح نشتغل على موضوع الإيفالويشن والمتابعة لنتأكد أنه فعلا في استفادة من هذه الأدوات، وناخذ كمان فيدباك منهم لحتى نعرف كيف بدنا نطور هذه الأدوات أكثر بالمستقبل.
Yes, Saja. We have, over the past month, held a number of sessions with the organizations who are using the tools to train them and to offer ongoing support on how to use the tools. Part of the work that we've done with the AFCN and with the REACH has been to develop these tools, but that was really just one part of the step, the process. What really now is important is that the users, the editors and managers, the fact checkers, everyone in the organization who is using the tools feel confident with them, are well trained to use them, understand how they work, so that they can not only use them to find things to fact check, to find repeats, but they're also able to harness and get the most out of AI and integrating it into their fact checking organizations. I worked as a fact checker for almost a decade, and I understand how important it is that tools are able to be flexible and fit into different workflows, into different contexts and situations. So that's why we've provided, up until now, 3 intense training sessions. We're having ongoing support sessions, which include exercises for the users to go through to and to practice their skills. And then I am offering support sessions every 2 weeks for any users who are experiencing challenges so that we can identify them, resolve them, also gather that feedback to identify if there's something that we can improve on the tool to prevent those issues from arising in the future. And in that way, we really plan and hope to see significant impact. It was really important to us prior to introducing the tools to conduct a survey, and I shared some of those results when I was speaking earlier. But we measured a whole lot of factors, from how long it takes for fact checkers to find claims, how hard it is to find statements, you know, how frequently they conduct a fact check only to realize that it's been fact checked from someone else. And we're going to be redoing that survey at the end of this project to see what impact we've had, so that we can share the quantifiable impact and success that the tools are having for Arabic fact checkers.
شكرا كتير كيت. يعني دايما التعود على أدوات جديدة بالفترة الأولى ما بيكون سهل، ولكن مع الوقت بتسهل عملنا بشكل كتير كبير. ونحن حنتابع هذا الموضوع. يعني حاليا في 22 مؤسسة تدقيق معلومات عربية عم تستخدم الأدوات. نحن سنتابع هذا العمل معه، رح ناخذ تقييمه، رح نسمع منها فيدباك، ورح نشوف كيف ممكن نحول الفيدباك مستقبلا لواقع. يعني نقدر عن جد أن نطور الأدوات بناء على هذا الفيدباك يلي رح يجينا من المؤسسات. كريس وكيت، في سؤال خاصهم بالديتا المستخدمة في تطوير هيدي الأدوات، فإذا بتقدروا تجاوبوا على هذا السؤال.
Yes, absolutely. So the tools have been under development for a number of years. PhilFact had been investing in and prioritizing automated fact-checking since as far back as 2012. But our work in this area was really accelerated in 2019 when we received funding and support from google.org to spend 3 years exploring what AI could do for fact-checking. And the initial models that we developed were developed with PhilFact, with African fact-checking organization Africa Check, which has offices in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, and then with Argentinian fact-checking organization Chequeado. And the reason that we brought together a wide range of people was because we always envisioned that these tools would meet the needs of the global fact-checking community. And we didn't want to develop a tool and a model that was based on input from just one fact-checking organization. So in the initial training of the model, we had fact checkers from all of those countries doing annotations where they were shown thousands and thousands of sentences, and they had to annotate whether it was a claim or not, and if it was a claim, what type of claim it was. And that's where you see the claim type classifier in the search tool. Those models have over the years been trialed in different languages. So we have had them working in French, and more recently we've had them now being rolled out in Arabic. And the process that has undergone has been to work in close collaboration with the AFC and INRIJ to do a number of, first of all, translations and annotations. And then once we have the models running, to then have in-depth evaluation where we receive feedback on the quality of the output of the tools with regards to claim identification, checkworthy, claim matches, so that we're able to loop that feedback in and to identify areas where it can be improved. And one of the benefits of this partnership was that we had that language expertise to assist us in this process.
شكرا كتير كيت. وهون بدي احكي عن اللي واجهنا فعليا نحن وعم نعمل انوتيشن للبيانات باللغه العربيه، هي انه فتنا بديبيت طويله على بعض المصطلحات والتصنيفات، وهل هيدا لازم تكون هذا التصنيف او هذا التصنيف. وفعلا لاحظنا انه مع استخدام الادوات وبالتطبيق انه احيانا ممكن مثلا تعطيك كاتيجورايزيشن مش دقيقه 100%، لانه في مصطلح ممكن موجود بالعباره ممكن يغير معنى العباره كامله غير التصنيف اللي اوريدي بالانوتيشن. فهيدي اشياء عم ننتبه لها مع الانوتيشن، وعم ننتبه لها كمان باستخدام الادوات. وهون بدنا ناخذنا خالد لسؤال طرح أكثر من مرة بالشات وبالكيو اند اي عن اللغة العربية. يعني ما سبب تعقيدات اللغة العربية لما يجي الموضوع لاستخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي والذكاء الاصطناعي وتطوير الأدوات، مع أنه في لغات أخرى كمان معقدة ولكن حلول لها موجودة ومتوفرة بشكل أكبر.
تمام. هو موضوع مش صعوبة اللغة العربية بقدر هو حجم العمل المطلوب للوصول إلى النتيجة اللي ممكن نوصلها بلغات أخرى. يعني هي حجم العمل أكثر، الاستراتيجيات أكثر، بيحتاج إلى تقنيات أو تكنيكس أكثر بالعمل. مشان هيك، لأنه بالأخير إحنا بتعرفوا الآلة لا تقرأ اللغة التي نقرأها. فيها بالذكاء الاصطناعي مثلا تقرأها بشيء اسمه فيكتور امبيدنج، فهذا الأمور تحتاج إلى عمل أطول للتعامل مع اللغة العربية. هاي أول شيء. ثاني شيء للغة العربية في نطاقنا، إذا تكلمنا باللغة العربية الفصحى فالعمل جدا أسهل من التعامل مع اللغة العربية بلهجاتها. فإحنا إذا بنصنف اللغة العربية، هي اللغة العربية الأصلية اللي هو الفصحى، واللهجات الأخرى المرافق لها تعتبر لها أعمال أخرى، لها نفس آلية العمل، وإلها نفس الجهد اللي بدنا نقوم فيه وما إلى ذلك. لكن التقنية أنا أعتقد في القريب العاجل، يعني خلال ال5 سنوات القادمة، ستتطور التقنية بحيث تدعم اللغة العربية بأشكالها المختلفة. وفي هناك قصص نجاح على مستوى الأبحاث تمت ودراسات يمكن استعمالها على نطاق ضيق. لكن أصلا المشكلة في اللغة العربية الآن نتكلم عن نوع المحتوى. في عندك التكست هو الأساس المكتوب، لكن المرئي والمسموع هاي دخلنا في نطاقات أخرى. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا كثير خالد. بدي جاوب على أسئلة عم تتكرر عن موضوع الأكسس لهذه الأدوات. أولا بس للتوضيح أنه AFCN بالشراكة مع فول فاكت قدرت توفر هاي الأدوات حاليا ل 22 مؤسسة ومبادرة تدقيق معلومات عربية. نتمنى مستقبلا أنه نقدر نوفر هذه الأدوات لعدد أكبر من المؤسسات، ولكن حاليا يعني هذا القدر المستطاع. يعني أنت بتعرف تحديات التمويل والدعم والتكاليف اللي بتتطلبها هذا الموضوع. المؤسسات المهتمة بالموضوع بليز تبعت لنا إيميل على afcn@arij.net. هلا زملائي بيرجعوا يبعتوه بالشات، وان شاء الله لما يصير في فرص يعني اعطاء مؤسسات اخرى امكانيه الوصول لهذه الادوات، رح يكون في طبعا ترتيب مختلف. ممكن نتواصل مع هذه المؤسسات ونشوف قد هي ممكن تستفيد من الادوات وتتطور باستخدام هيدي الادوات. طبعا بدنا نشكر هون كثير يعني مبادره اخبار جوجل اللي قامت بالفكره ودعمت تنفيذ هاي الفكره وانه تصير امر واقع يعني. وفخورين جدا بهذا التعاون مع جوجل اللي هو تعاوننا، يعني مش تعاوننا الاول. يعني جوجل دعمت أريج بتطوير استراتيجيه الذكاء الاصطناعي الخاصه فيها، دعمتنا بمشروع لتطوير مهارات مدققي المعلومات بالعالم العربي، ايضا مشروع AFCN فاكت لاب، وهذا المشروع ايضا بتطوير ادوات فول فاكت AI باللغه العربيه. كريس بدي اروح على سؤال كمان تكرر اكثر من مره، هو عن التحديات الاخلاقيه اللي بناخذها بعين الاعتبار خلال العمل على هاي الادوات، وكيف بنتابع ونتاكد بانه ما عم بيصير في اي inaccuracy او تحديات اخلاقيه من نوع ممكن تحيز او معلومات غير صحيحه ممكن تطلع من هذه الادوات، او استخدام غير اخلاقي او غيره. يعني كيف بناخذ هذا الموضوع بعين الاعتبار؟
I mean, it's partly the way we've just been discussing about how the tools were trained in the first place, and training is obviously kind of an ongoing process. It never really stops. So it's important to try to keep the models as up to date as possible. And in terms of neutrality, I mean, the tools essentially provide you with a way to check information, but it's essentially up to the user how they choose to use it. And as full fact, we hope that the people who partner with us will use it in a responsible way, but we can't monitor how people use the tools. The tools will provide them with a way to, or will point them towards information which the tools believe is worth checking in terms of a claim has been made, is it accurate? The analysis of that claim, as I said before, has to come from the human beings who had the context and the caveat. And obviously human beings from other organizations don't come under the purview of full fact. So there's always the possibility of error by machine. There's always the possibility of error by human beings as well. And sometimes I think we have to accept, if you put anything out in the world like this, there may be people who decide to misuse it. We would try very hard not to partner with people who are going to do that. And I've got a lot of confidence in all of the colleagues I've met around the world who are part of the international fact-checking community. But of course, the wider the use of tools like this go, the more chance there is that they will be misused. And that's I think, a risk that we have to take, because I think the good they will do will certainly outweigh the bad.
Yeah, I would just jump in there, Saja. I think that this question hits on a couple of important issues, and there are three. The first is, and I think it's what Chris has just outlined really well, is that these are a tool. As I said in the demo, users are able to specify what they monitor. So it isn't like Google in the sense that it's going to be searching the whole web. You have to decide what news media, what social media, radio, YouTube you want to monitor. And if your monitoring selection is biased, or if you are overly focused on one spectrum of a political debate and not the other, then the tool will identify claims in those areas. And so it's incredibly important that organizations that are conducting fact-checking, where being shown to be non-partisan and to being fair in your selection of claims and fact-checking is so important. You have to take the job and the responsibility of selecting your monitoring very carefully so that you are able to monitor the full spectrum of public debate. Because you can have the most perfect fact-checking process. You can always be correct. You can have the best data. You can have the best comment from experts. But if you're only focusing on what certain people are saying, or only on claims that are wrong for certain people, then your work is not going to be non-partisan, and it is going to be biased. So there's again the complementary relationship that Chris alluded to of the tech assisting the human, but a lot of responsibility still remains on us as fact checkers to ensure that our work is non-partisan and that we ensure that our monitoring is fair and accurate. Then just lastly, I'll bring back the one more point, is that these tools are not public facing. We have not built, and we never intend to and never will build a tool which looks at a statement, says it's right or wrong, and pushes that out to the public. And that's because we need fact checkers to interrogate first of all, the output of the tools. I saw a question in the Q&A saying, how does the tool know if a claim is suspicious or if it's incorrect? The tools which I've showed you don't know that. They are simply looking at all of the sentences which are published over 24 hours on the platforms that you are monitoring, and they are showing you the ones that could be fact-checked because there's an assertion, and giving you a way to filter them and to look for things which interest you. The responsibility in determining if something is correct or incorrect is then the role of the fact checker, who has to undertake that intensive human process of verification.
شكرا كتير كيت. قبل ما انقل على سؤال تاني، خالد، نفس السؤال بس مرتبط تحديدا باللغة العربية، خاصة الحديث عن انه ممكن يكون في تحيز سياسي، تحيز ديني، وكل هيدي المخاوف من انه اللغة العربية وادوات باللغة العربية وقد ايه ممكن عن جد تكون نتائجها مضمونة او لا.
يعني احنا بتعرف الفترة الماضية كمان بجوجل انيشيتيفز والاي اي جورناليزم اخذنا وقت في تطوير شيء متعلق في التحيز، وانا وسجا وانا وياكي كنا بهذا المشروع. اولنا نطور أداة متعلقة بالبايس ونساعد فيها أعضاء هيئة التحرير وكاتبين محتوى باللغة العربية بالتصنيف والقدرة على تمييز المحتوى اللي ممكن هم يكتبوه بدون قصد، وهو اوريدي بيكون بايس. عملية جمع المعلومات باللغة العربية وتوفرها هو واحد من التحديات الكثيرة الموجودة عندنا في العالم العربي. وإذا توفرت عادة ما بتكون متوفرة بطريقة تقرأها الآلة. فبدها عملية ترتيب المعلومات وتجميعها وتحضيرها وتجهيزها حتى تكون قابلة للاستفادة منها. هي تأخذ وقت طويل ولا زلنا في بدايات الطريق. نعم، مشان هيك العنصر البشري هو عنصر رئيسي في مساعدة في تطوير هاي الأدوات. رح نرجع لنقطة الصفر. هي الأداة هي مساندة، هي عبارة عن ممكنة، لكن العنصر البشري ووعيه في آلية استعمال هاي الأدوات ومقارنتها هو مطلوب الآن وبشكل مستمر.
Can I just add one other thing, Saja? Like Kate said, the current tools we have can't tell you if something is wrong for certain. That's what the human beings do. That's what the human beings assess. And if you like, that's full fact AI 1.0. What we're working on now, which I mentioned briefly in my opening remarks, is what you might call full fact AI 2.0, because the current tools are obviously AI based. The new tool we're trying to develop is based on generative AI. And the generative part of that is that we hope it will be able to create a list, and the list will be ranked, but will be, when we're focusing to begin with on health misinformation. But if it works for that, we think it should work for pretty much any type of misinformation. But the idea is we hope it will be able to rank health misinformation in terms of the harm it causes. And that could be harm in terms of severity. So perhaps only 10 people have watched this video, but if they do what the video tells them to do, it will kill them. So that is clearly extremely harmful. Or it could be a video which is not nearly as harmful, but it's been watched by 10 million people, and therefore it's harmful in terms of the scale. And if we can create this tool, and if it works effectively, then I think it will be a new generation of these tools, which is why I said earlier that we're still trying to develop new things all the time. And that's when we can then start to talk about identifying things which are specifically causing harm in a way the current tools don't do, even though people have found them incredibly useful.
شكرا كثير كيت. بدي ارجع هون على موضوع الداتا، وفي سؤال عم يسأل انه هل نحن عم نعمل labeling tagging annotation؟ ايه عم نعمل هيدا الشيء باللغة العربية كمان. وبشكر هون زميلتنا يعني أروى الكعلي اللي هي دكتورة بالصحافة وتدقيق المعلومات بتونس، ومدققة معلومات وإدارة مؤسسة تدقيق معلومات اللي عم تساعد كثير بهيدا الموضوع. ولكن هون بدي أسأل أكثر كيت عن موضوع الداتا. يعني سألين على قد ايه حجم هيدي الداتا، قد ايه هي كبيرة، إذا هي supervised أو unsupervised. إذا فيك تحكي لنا شوية تفاصيل أكثر.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, we have gone through this process with a number of different stages and fact checkers. So our first training set was from the fact checkers from South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Czechia, and Full Fact in the UK, who annotated over 10,000 claims with 2 stages of annotations, the first being whether a sentence was a claim. And that is because when it comes to fact checking, we can only verify statements which are assertions about the way something is. So what unemployment is, how many people have been convicted of corruption, for example. We can't verify things about the future, so we can't verify predictions because we're not fortune tellers. We also can't verify opinions, because someone saying that Johannesburg is the best city in the world, that will vary depending by person. But we can verify a claim that Johannesburg has the highest rainfall in South Africa. So through those annotations, we were able to build a claim labeling model, which is able to look at a sentence and break it down into its statistical components. So we also receive support from a team of fellows, which we were very lucky to have from Google. And we had a number of fellows who helped us also to build an entity identification model. So as I showed you on the demo, this is currently something that we are improving on in the tool for our Arabic users. But the model is able to look at an article in total, identify the entities, so the different people or organizations, and then also identify statements which use pronouns or different variations of their name. So for example, if there was an article in my country, South Africa, about a speech by President Cyril Ramaphosa, it would identify his name as President Cyril Ramaphosa. Later, it might see it says the president said, and it might conclude by referring to him as he. But the model is able to look at all of those variations and attribute them to one entity so that we can identify all the statements which have been made by that one person. There's also one question I'd just like to answer here from Noza, who asks about the percentage of fact-checkable claims detected using full fact by organization. So the statistics vary, but in the last election in South Africa, 25% of the claims that were fact-checked for the election were identified using full fact AI. And that was a number of years ago now, about 2 or 3, and the tools have come on significantly from then. So those were claims that were identified in speeches, in manifestos, in tweets, in large publications that were released during the election. So what I will add is that tools, whether they're AI or otherwise, are not magic. We often will have people who contact us and say, oh, we need the tools, we need to improve our fact checking, we need to fact check more, we need to identify more falsehoods. But simply getting a tool is not going to transform your fact checking. You need to ensure that you have a very rigorous fact checking methodology, that you have processes in place. You need to invest in doing your monitoring properly and learning to use the tool. So you could have an election and you could have the tools, but if you don't apply yourself and put in the effort and use them to properly monitor a situation, such as an election, you're not going to have a significant impact. It requires great undertaking and commitment to take what is a very powerful piece of technology and to integrate it into your workflow so that you can see the potential impact that it has.
شكرا كتير كيت. وهون يعني صراحة بحب كتير إنه أشكر مجتمع AFCN، يعني المؤسسات والمبادرات اللي آمنت بالفكرة من البداية، وآمنت بفكرة إنه هي بحاجة للذكاء الاصطناعي وللتكنولوجي لحتى تساعدها بشغلها. وكيت بتعرفي لما عملنا بالبداية المشروع تقييم للمؤسسات، يعني الإجابات كانت كتير بارزة من ناحية الوقت اللي بتاخدهم لحتى يعملوا رصد للادعاءات، الوقت اللي بتاخدهم لحتى يكونوا عم بيعملوا لايف فاكت تشيكينج اذا كان في اي تصريح او اي حدث او اي لقاء صحفي او غيره. يعني كل هيدا قد ايه بتاخذ منهم جهد، واحيانا قد ايه بيعملوا كل هيدا الشيء بطريقه مانيول وبيقعدوا بيدوروا بشكل عشوائي. هيدا كله هيدي الادوات رح تخلصنا منه، يعني رح يصير عن جد موضوع المونيتورينج والايدنتيفيكيشن والترانسكريبشن وكل هالقصص اسهل واسرع. معنا هون بالويبينار مؤسسات عربيه بلشت تستخدم الادوات. اذا اي حدا منهم بحب يحكي عن الادوات، عن كيف بيشوف ممكن تساعد بعملهم، ممكن بليز يرفع ايده وانا رح اقول يعني انه بخبر اذا ممكن ناخذ هذا الشخص يعني يحكي معنا لمده دقيقه او يخبرنا عن هيدي الادوات. بهذا الوقت في سؤال عن فكرة إنه هل رح تكون الناس قادرة تشوف نتائج استخدام هذه الأدوات. نحن رح نكون شفافين جدا بعرض lessons learned من هذه الأدوات والتحديات اللي عم تواجهنا باستخدامها وتطويرها، وشو الأشياء اللي قدرنا نعملها وشو الأشياء اللي ما قدرنا نعملها وشو الأشياء اللي حنعملها بالمستقبل. وطبعا رح نكون عم ننشر انسايتس بشكل مستمر عن استخدام المؤسسات لهذه الادوات وقد ايه عم بتفيدها. ولكن للاسف هيدي منا مفتوحة، لأنه كمان في أسباب أخرى متعلقة بالحماية. يعني حتى نحن عندنا مؤسسات من ضمن المؤسسات ال 22 ايميلاتهم يعني بيشتغلوا انونيمسلي، يعني بس نحن بنعرفهم، ولكن ما بيقدر يطلع شغلهم او يبين شغلهم، او المؤسسات اللي عم بيتابعوها او الشغل اللي عم بيعملوه اصلا بالعلن بشكل كتير كبير. ولكن هون بدي اسال كريس انه قد ايه مهم انه الجمهور العام يكون قادر يعرف ويطلع على نحن مؤسسات تدقيق المعلومات ومؤسسات الإعلامية استخدامها للذكاء الاصطناعي لوين عم ياخدها، او شو الاثر اللي عم بيعمله بشغلها وعلى الجمهور اللي لها.
I think the key word above all, Sajja, is transparency, that we've all got to be transparent about what we're doing and how we use technology. I think a lot of people are quite nervous about technology. And every time they open a newspaper, they're told that the AI is coming to get them and it's going to create a generation of killer robots or something. And we've got to, I think, be very clear when we use technology and show people how it can be used to spread good information as well as bad. And I think it being open about what we do and being open about what the technology still can't do, and the fact that human beings are involved in the process. I think it's really important to tell people that, because for people who are worried about the technology taking over, I think will hopefully be reassured by the fact that human beings are still involved in the process and are absolutely central to the process. The other thing I think's worth talking about, I've seen there's been a couple of questions about deep fakes, and of course this technology is about text and it's about speech. It doesn't deal with imagery, but it's interesting how much attention there is at the moment on deep fakes. I mean, obviously we're in the run up to an election here in the UK. We know there are going to be very important elections in the United States. There are elections across Europe. There are going to be elections right across the world this year. And one of my concerns is that we spend so much time talking about deep fakes that we forget to fact check what politicians actually do say. And it's not the fake stuff that's really important. It's important to call out the fake stuff, but the stuff that we really need to focus on is what people really do say. And I think one of the concerns that we really need to be aware of is the ability of politicians to just dismiss things and say, oh no, that's a fake. Because just as it's quite difficult to tell fake from real stuff, it's going to become much easier if somebody really is caught out saying something he shouldn't, for them to say, oh no, that's a deep fake. It's a fake. So we've got to be really careful that we continue to hold not just politicians, but anyone in public life, business leaders, sports stars, whoever it may be, anyone I think is prominent in public life who has an influence over people in the way they go about their business. We need to make sure we hold them to account for what they really do say and not worry too much about the fake stuff, so much that it drowns out the real stuff.
يعني كريس انت عم تحكي هلا، يعني كنت عم فكر بفترة بداية الحرب بغزة باكتوبر ونوفمبر 2023، قد ايه عانينا برصد الادعاءات، وقد ايه عانينا بانه عن جد نقدر يعني نشتغل بشكل سريع بحدث مثل هذا الحدث فيه هالقد معلومات ضخمة عم تنتشر على كل وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي وعلى كل وسائل الإعلام وكل السياسيين وكل العالم عم تحكي عنه. فكنت عم فكر بس انه قد ايه لو هالادوات كانت متوفره قبل، قد ايه كانت ممكن تسهل لنا عملنا، وهذا اللي بدنا ناخذه بعين الاعتبار للاحداث المقبله، يعني اي انتخابات، اي ازمه. هيدي فرصه عن جد نسرع عمليه تدقيق المعلومات ونخليها عن جد تكون افكتيف اكثر للناس بالعمل. كيت، ما هو مستقبل هذه الادوات؟ يعني برأيك إلى أين سنصل بتطوير هيدي الأدوات؟ بس إذا بدنا نحكي إنه إحنا عم نعمل هذا الويبينار بعد سنة أو سنتين مثلا، ما الذي يمكن أن نحققه من خلالها؟
So I hope many things. I really believe that through the partnership with Arabic fact checkers, we are going to see accelerated development for AI tools in Arabic. we as Full Fact AI, we have, worked with the community, with the AFCN and with the REACH to develop these tools and bring them to fact checkers in the region. But through the coming weeks, months, and years, we're really going to see not just the impact, but also the quality of the output of the tools increasing through the collaboration. As Chris has mentioned, we are going to, within the end of this year, but definitely in coming years, be introducing new generative AI capabilities, which will reduce the amount of content that fact checkers need to review even further, so that they are even more efficient in the work that they're doing. But lastly, I think a lot of the work that we're doing, as you said, Saja, we're often in a crisis, looking at the moment, trying to think forward what we're going to be fact checking. But these tools also have an incredible ability to allow us to look backwards after a crisis, after an election, after a war, to identify how misinformation spread, who spread it, where it changed, who amplified it. And we've seen a number of our users, including fact checkers at Full Fact, use the tool to trace disinformation, to see who were the key players, what were the platforms, so that in those moments when we can pause and we can reflect, we can actually learn lessons from how disinformation was spread, so that we can be better prepared for future instances of when it happens.
And can I add one thing there, Saja? In terms of where we hope we'll be in a few years' time, I hope that today actually will be, the launch in Arabic of the current tools will be seen as something of a turning point, because until today we've been using the tools in English and in French, same script, similar styles of language. And as you all know, and everyone at ARIF and AFCN knows, it was really tough to translate the way the tools work into Arabic. And it's a complicated language. And if it can work in Arabic, we're pretty confident it can work in almost any language. I think you mentioned at the beginning, I don't know if she's still here, but we had a colleague from Taiwan fact check with us who was interested in the possibility of looking at the tools in Mandarin. So if the tools work well in Arabic, we're pretty confident that they can work well in any language. So I think tonight's a really important moment for these tools and for Full Fact and for our collaboration with you, because I think this is proof of concept that this is something that really works well.
شكرا كتير يعني كيت وكريس. وهون بدي اروح عند خالد قبل ما نختم. خالد، يعني كتير لقيت كومنتس وبالشات وبالاسئله وعلى فيسبوك حتى لايف عم يجينا اسئله عن موضوع الذكاء الاصطناعي، وفكره يعني في خوف بالمجتمع الصحافي العربي من الذكاء الاصطناعي، ومن قد ايه رح يساعدنا، ومن قد ايه رح يعملنا مشاكل، ومن قد ايه فيه تحديات، ومن قد ايه فيه ممكن تأثير على عملنا وغيره. شو الحل لهذه المخاوف؟ يعني شو الحل للمجتمع الصحفي يقتنع بأنه هذه الأدوات لها إمكانيات محددة هالقد بتعمل، ولازم نكون عن جد فاهمينها لحتى نقدر نتعامل معها وما يكون لها آثار سلبية كبيرة؟
يا مزبوط سجا، انت سألت السؤال وجاوبتي. هو المعرفة اولا. مشان هيك انا دائما بنصح الجميع وخاصة مدققي المعلومات بانه يكونوا من ضمن مجتمع الشبكة لتدقيق المعلومات. لانه احنا بالشبكة بتعرفي بنقدم عنصرين رئيسيين، هي إضافة العربية للتقنيات الحديثة الموجودة، وهذا عمل الآن بشركائنا بفول فاكت وشركائنا حول العالم، فبالتالي هذا بيكون حاضر لهم. وبنشتغل أيضا على الجانب المعرفي في كيف أنه اعتبار التقنيات الجديدة هو ممكن مرة أخرى يحسن آلية العمل، يمكنهم العمل بسرعة لمواكبة التطورات الموجودة. أما الخوف، يعني بدنا نرجع لحقبة الإنترنت. أنا أتذكر كيف عندنا خوف بوجود الإنترنت وستتغير العالم وطريقتنا، لكن الإنسان نفس الشيء، فيها كل شيء جديد له ميزاته له سيئاته. المعرفة هي الكفيل أنك أنت تقدر تتعامل فيه بطريقة حكيمة.
وطبعا هون يعني بدي بس شير لفكرة إنه أريج بتقدم تدريبات وتطوير مهارات خاصة بالذكاء الاصطناعي بالإعلام. يعني إذا ممكن تتابعوا موقعنا وحساباتنا، هلا ممكن الزملاء يبعتون بالشات لأي فرص مستقبلية خاصة بالذكاء الاصطناعي. وطبعا يعني عندنا استراتيجية الذكاء الاصطناعي الخاصة فينا اللي كمان دعمتها جوجل نيوز انيشيتيف، ممكن كمان تطلعوا عليها، ممكن كمان زملاء يبعتوها بالشات. بتطلب منكم إذا ممكن يعني نعبي استمارة التقييم، لأنه هذا التقييم رح يساعدنا كثير بأنه موضوع مهم بالنسبة للكوميونتي اللي قلنا والعمل عليه مهم. فزملائي بعتوا اللينك بالشات إذا ممكن تعبوا التقييم يعني هلا. بدي بس يعني سريعا، كيت وكريس وخالد، شو النصيحة اللي بتقدموها لمدققي المعلومات يلي حيستعملوا الأدوات هلا؟ ما هو أفضل وسيلة لاستخدام هذه الأدوات برأيكم؟ تفضل كريس.
I think my closing thought would really be picking up on what Khalid just said, and that is that whenever a new technology emerges, it does take some jobs away, but it almost always creates new ones as well. And I think for journalists, AI is a challenge, but it is also an enormous opportunity because it can help us make better journalism. It can help us do better fact checking. It can make sure that the jobs the human beings doing are more rewarding, more interesting, and more accurate as well, because it is such a revolutionary technology that to try and ignore it and pretend it's not there is simply not going to work. We know that in the wrong hands, generative AI can do enormous harm, but I'm also convinced, and I hope tonight starts to prove it, that AI and generative AI in the future in the right hands can be an enormous force for good. And I think it's our responsibility really as a community of fact checkers to make sure that comes to pass.
Kate?
I think my advice to current and future users of Full Fact AI would be to see the tools and their functionality as a way to bolster your team. You have the ability to have tools monitoring media 24/7, listening to radio, transcribing YouTube videos, monitoring social media, and showing you a much smaller amount of content to review. So put them to work, do the groundwork to decide what you want to monitor, what Facebook groups and pages, what Twitter accounts, what news media, what keywords you're interested in, and do that initial investment in setting it up to succeed, so that whatever time of the day or night, if something is important, if there's news breaking, the tool is there monitoring your information landscape and making sure that when you come to it, you are able to review in a short amount of time the most important things that need to be fact-checked on that day.
خالد؟ أنت ميوتد خالد، بس إذا ممكن تشيل الميوت.
اوكي سوري. الادوات هي الان وفي المستقبل هي ممكنه لهم للتميز. هي ادوات ستوفر عامل الوقت والدقه كل ما استخدمها. فانا بنصح دائما مجتمعنا من مدققي المعلومات ببناء منهجيه جديده للعمل باستخدام هاي الادوات، لانه هم الى جانب الخير كما قال كريس، هم الى جانب الخير في مواجهه الجانب الاخر، والجهتين يستخدموا تقريبا نفس التقنيه. فاحنا بنحاول نوظف هاي التقنيه لتميزهم بالعمل ونساعدهم ليوصلوا الى ادق نتيجه باسرع وقت.
شكرا كثير لكم كريس، كيت وخالد. شكرا كثير لفريق طبعا AFCN وأريج كاملا، المترجمات معنا هون ديما وتقوى، فريق فول فاكت كاملا. يعني في أشخاص للأسف كثار مش قادرين نذكرهم كلهم بالجلسة، فشكرا لهم كلهم، كل الأشخاص اللي اشتغلوا وتعبوا بهذه الادوات واللي عم بتلاقي هلا نتيجه. رح نستمر بتطوير هذه الادوات، رح نستمر بهذا التعاون، رح نستمر بنشوف قد ايه هذا التعاون وقد ايه هذه الادوات عم بتفيد مجتمعنا وكيف ممكن نزيد هذه الافاده بالمستقبل. بدي اذكركم انكم تعبوا استماره التقييم، وبدي اتمنى لكم يوم تدقيق معلومات عالمي سعيد. يعني قليل من التحديات باستخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي كمان. شكرا جزيلا لحضوركم معنا اليوم، سعدنا بوجودكم ونتمنى نشوفكم قريبا كمان، وبالتوفيق. يعطيكم ألف عافية. باي باي.
Thank you, Saja. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
يعطيكم العافيه.